this, please. If anybody sees this, you've got to help me. I've got this little synth. It just looked like a little bit of fun, a nice little synth to play with for a couple of hours, but the minute I turned it on, it tried to rip a hole in the very fabric of time and space. It's definitely not benign, this thing. It's definitely not just a fun little toy. This thing is 100% malevolent. Evening. No, it's okay. I'm just doing a YouTube video. Well, that was genuinely embarrassing, and it's definitely the end of my acting career, but it does sum up how I feel about this synth. I got it out of the box. It looks small. It's about the same size as the MS-20. In fact, I think it's exactly the same width as the MS-20 Mini. For some reason, I was thinking it was going to be more grandmother size. It's smaller than that, and I got it out of the box, looked nice and cute, and I started playing with it, and sort of all hell broke loose. It's making all these really dirty, crazy, fat, horrible sounds. But then I came to do the video, and I do what I normally do, and I get my oscilloscope up and this, that, and the other, just to sort of run through exactly how everything works. And it wasn't doing exactly what I expected, and I got in touch with Paul from PWM, who'd sent it to me, so he knows exactly what I do with synths, and he said, yep, that's what we want. We wanted something that doesn't sound like and doesn't act like everything else you can get. And I suppose on the market at the minute, you know, there's the Base Station 2, similarly priced. The Monologue is cheaper than this. Then there's the Arturia Mini Brutes and Micro Brutes as well. So it's a tough marketplace at the minute. So if you're going to bring something to market, it's got to be distinctive. And now I know why it's called the Malevolent. So should we just start off by taking a quick look at what we've got here? Got two VCOs and two ADSR envelopes, a mixer with noise. We've got a filter that's got low pass, band pass, high pass, plus two FM inputs there as well. The output section, we've also got an ARP, and we've got a simple LFO as well. So it's a fully featured little synth. We've got these 37 inputs and outputs, these patch points across the top. And on the back, we've got a full-size DIN MIDI in, MIDI out. We've got a clock in, a clock out, a USB-C, that's for MIDI, and for firmware updates, it's not for audio. Plus we've got phones and a full-size line out. In this bottom left-hand corner here, we've got this joystick with the ARP and vibrato modes. The vibrato brings in an additional digital LFO. This one's analog. Joystick's got some hidden features there, things like when you press it, it goes into hold. I say hidden, it does say hold on it. We've also got other little hidden functions, I suppose, whereby we can change the type of arpeggiator. That's changing the modes from up, down to up and down 1, up and down 2. That incorporates the end notes twice, plus random and as played as well. We can also change the amount of octaves on that. So there are a few little hidden features that you might not be expecting. Things like hold the ARP and vibrato when you turn it on, you get an A at 440 Hertz, so you can tune it. The vibrato mode itself is pretty interesting. Put it on. So that's a digital LFO, and you increase the amount of vibrato with the joystick, and you also increase the speed by moving the joystick. The joystick normally will be pitch bend, or the glide speed. And the pitch bend range is changed by holding vibrato and using the octave up and down keys. And what you get there in binary are the amount of semitones. So 1, 0, that's 2. 1 and 1 is 3. It's a nice little touch. Let's take a look at what we've got on the patch points as well. Really nice that we've got 2 FM inputs on each of the VCOs as well. That takes it away from being something like the MS-20, I suppose. Pre-patched for the envelope and the LFO on triangle, but obviously it means that you can modulate one oscillator with the other. We've got a low pass, a band pass and a high pass on the filter. That's pre-patched to the mix output, but obviously you can bring the outputs from each of the VCOs and put them into the band pass and the high pass and sort of mess around with stuff like that to get some interesting tones. We've got a drone mode, plus 2 modulation inputs for the amplifier. They're pre-patched to the envelope and the LFO. And then we've got envelope outs and gate-ins and various things. So a fair amount of patchability there, and it's all compatible with Eurorack. Let's start off digging into the sounds and taking a listen to the oscillators. Both the oscillators have got a sawtooth, a triangle or a square, and just like on something like the Pro 1, you can have them all on at the same time. And one thing you do notice on this is that the gain staging is sort of a bit wild in a way. Got this really, really nice drive circuit. But without the drive circuit, it's really quiet, or it's really loud with the drive circuit. And in fact, the output that we get up here, that's the Eurorack out, that's not affected by this master control here. You do have to be careful if you're plugging it into other stuff that you don't send levels that are huge. So without the drive, then with it, massive. Let's turn that down a bit. But also we're getting drive through the actual oscillator itself into the filter. And I'll take a look at the filter in a minute, but so that I think is now distorting the filter or overdriving it, because for bringing resonance, for example. Whoa! Let's just turn that drive down and just have the resonance from the filter. So really nice and resonant and singing, but then we bring in the oscillator. It kills the resonance. And this is where we get all that lovely grunginess from this machine. Loads of weirdness, loads of interaction between the oscillator, the filter, and this drive circuit. Maybe you can see why it's called Malevolent now. It really is evil, isn't it? But let's take a look at the filter in a bit more detail later. Let's concentrate on the VCOs for now. So we'll just start off with the simple sawtooth. And I've got that on about 3/4 the level and 3/4 drive, just to get a nice signal. And you can hear straight away there's a bit of movement in that. Sounds nice and alive, doesn't it? The other thing you notice is it's not that bright, and I'll look again with the filter. Adding a bit of resonance, we get a little bit brighter. Then we've got the triangle and the square. Really lively, isn't it? It sounds nice, doesn't it? It's almost like some weird bit of kit that Haimback might have in his studio. And you notice there, as it goes sort of through 0 or through the 50%, the shape parameter doesn't just open the square to 100% and then back down to 0, it sort of flips over or something. I don't know quite how you describe that. But that means when you're using PWM, you get a sort of rhythmic effect. So it's like a little growl in the middle almost as it flips over or does whatever it's doing. It's nice on the triangle, isn't it? That's it on the sawtooth. And I imagine if this was a 70s synth that Behringer were trying to clone, for example, if they didn't get that exactly right, everyone would be up in arms. But it does sound big and it sounds fat and it's got a bit of a vintage tone, I think. Again, nice, rich, fat, definitely analog. And maybe you can see why I was playing this for days before I actually decided to have a look at actually what it does. Okay, we've got the FM on this as well. And the FM is really interesting because it means we've got access to the envelopes as well, which gives us those sort of really sort of hoovery sounds. Again, really raw. Let's try a bit of FM from oscillator 1 to oscillator 2. Let's put the pulse out of oscillator 1 into oscillator 2's FM2. Hi-hats. Really nice and metallic those, aren't they? And actually on the intro track, every single thing that you heard came from this, even the kick, the hats, the toms, the claps. And on my Patreon page, I've uploaded a sample pack. There's over 200 samples in there. Really nice. This is really great for doing drum sounds, actually. Let's put that through the high pass. Mix out into the high pass. Nice. Should we try kick drum? Let's try the really basic way of doing it, which is put the resonance up, turn the cutoff down, bit of FM from envelope 1, turn the oscillators off. Straight away. I did have a good old play with it a couple of days ago though. Bit more drive. Got that in it. Take a drive off. Great, let's add an oscillator. Bit of FM on that as well. There's loads in there, which is why I made the sample pack. I was sitting here just making all these sounds, thought I might as well record them. Okay, I think that brings us to the end of the oscillators. Let's take a look at this mental filter then, shall we? Okay, a simple sawtooth. First thing you notice is it's not that bright. Adding resonance is increasing volume. And there it is poking up about 18, 19 kilohertz. And then off into the distance. All sorts of gorgeousness in there, isn't there? And that's an absolute killer. Beautiful. All those growls, but we're getting those because I've got the oscillator turned to over 12. Turn that down. Better watch my ears actually. Don't know what this resonance is going to do. So it's highly resonant. Turn it down again. And off it goes. But sometimes, and not every time, on the way back down, It's being well behaved there, and it must be the interaction, as I say, with the drives. Sometimes it doesn't come back in until the filter cutoff is a bit further down. You'll see what I mean in a second. And it'll never do it again now, will it? And I did speak to PWM about it, but they said, yeah, fine, we like it. We like it being a bit nuts. But as I say, it's being super well behaved now. I don't know what settings I had it on, but it was just a bit weird, and I thought it was interesting. There you go, it only popped in at about 8 kHz. It didn't come all the way from 20. It's all a learning curve. So it's really raucous. On the high settings, don't forget here. Deliberately. But I just like it so much. Just trying something a bit more conventional. So it can do that more conventional sounding stuff, obviously, but because there's so much scope there for the less conventional aspects of it, it means you've got to take a bit more time to dial it in. And at times you think the knobs aren't doing anything. But I think that's because they need the scope there for when you've got the modulation in place. So with the modulation, the knob's doing something throughout the whole of its travel, but if I turn the modulation down, you might think it's doing nothing. But it is doing something, you just can't hear it. Let's bring in another oscillator. And then put one of the oscillators through the high pass. Let's take the output from VCO2, put that into the high pass. Cool, madness. We'll put the mix out through the high pass. Ho-ho-ho! So the levels do have a tendency to go all over the place. Feels a little bit like you're using some experimental physics kit or something. But as I said, Heimbach gets away with it. but it's great for getting really interesting sounds and nice little overtones. I particularly like doing it with the resonance up on a low pass. There, just those nice sort of little, I don't know, chirps. We do have FM inputs on the filter, and we can obviously use the VCOs to modulate it. Loads of lovely little tones in there. Nice. I have tried using the pitch out to modulate the frequency of the filter, but I can't quite get it to track the keyboard very well. Let's try it. Nearly. Ooh, nearly there. Not bad. Not easy to do though. I sort of know it's going to be about a 1 or 2 o'clock. Let's try that with one of the VCOs in. Turn it up too loud, I can't hear the resonance. Trying to get the same tone on every key, which means it's tracking it perfectly. I don't think I'm going to do it. I did try it the other day. I just think there's so much range in it, it'd be impossible to get that spot on. So yeah, there's the Malevolent. If there's anything else that you want me to go through, just let me know in the comments. But I really like it. It's got a real charm to it. It's got a little bit of noise here and there. It doesn't do exactly what you expect it to do, but it's got bags full of character, and it's not a VST in a box that a lot of synths, even analog synths, people in the comments say to me, just you know, I could do that on anything in my DAW, but you can't do anything in your DAW that sounds anything quite like this. So are there any negatives? Well, it's a little bit noisy. With a few of the samples that I made, I did have to denoise them to make them a little bit crisper. But again, it's sort of the character of this thing. I don't think it's any more noisy than the MS-20 Mini, but it's not crystal clear. It's not as crisp as the Grandmother, for example. It is £485, so it's £300 cheaper than the Grandmother, but about the same price as the MS-20. I'm trying to think if there's any other sort of downsides to it. The only other thing I'd quite like on there maybe was a mult and maybe an attenuator, just when you're playing around with things. I've thought a couple of times it'd be quite nice to have a little a mult in there or an attenuator, as I say, but I'm trying to remember the exact circumstance now. And the more you play with something, the more you sort of get around those little foibles anyway. But all in all, it's a really nice little bit. It'd be great if I had a sequencer on it as well. It's just got the ARP in it. I don't know if there's any way of putting a sequencer in with the firmware that's in it. Would be great if they could. But all in all, really, really worth checking this out. So I do like it, and I hope that was of use to somebody somewhere, and if it was, please think about subscribing, ring the bell, and join me over on my Patreon page where, as I say, I've got a few hundred samples of the drums I created on this. So all quite useful, plus hours and hours worth of tutorials helping you to get the most from your synths. So I will see you next time.